Uncivilized Vitality, and this will be a brief video today about the new content format we're going to use for 2026. All right, let's talk about the new content format I want to introduce to the channel in 2026. And this will hopefully help everyone who's interested in certain aspects of Uncivilized Vitality program, but not necessarily all of the aspects yet. Help you decide which videos you're gonna, when you're gonna tune in. So I think sometimes we get, I say we, but it's me. It's just all over the place. The content, you know, pops up or we throw this or that. I've tried to organize it a little bit so we have a more streamlined presentation in 2026 and hopefully push us over that 7,000 subscriber mark, which we're very close to, and then on to the 10,000 subscriber benchmark. So we're doing really well. We set up the YouTube channel mainly as another revenue or funding source for the Uncivilized Living Foundation, the charity, just the same as the books we have available on, I don't know if I'm supposed to say Amazon, but you can get those wherever books are sold. If you live in Michigan, you buy them from me locally. That all goes to support the Uncivilized Living Foundation, which is a nonprofit whereby we take people outdoors and teach them the lessons that come from living in harmony with nature in order to optimize their health and happiness or just generally improve your life. The Uncivilized Vitality program is based on certain aspects of lifestyle of pre-civilized, mainly hunter-gatherers or prehistoric societies of humans from across time. We've done quite a few videos explaining that, try to avoid being civilized, living in cities, living according to hierarchies of collectivism, relying mainly on agriculture. These things constitute being a civilized society, and we want to go away from that and get a little healthier because of it. So the channel was set up just to kind of get some views and bring in a little bit of revenue. And for the last 3, 4, 5 years, however long we've had a YouTube channel, we just sort of threw videos up whenever. And then it's been getting a little more traction and going well. So we want to streamline the way we present this. This is mainly Rendell's idea because she's been after me for at least a year to organize what I'm doing. So here is the format we're going to follow, okay? And then I'll do a little bit of a video on that, on one of the topics today. So each month we have the calendar weeks. Now the calendar months each are divided into weeks. And they're at least, each calendar has at least 4 weeks. So what we'll do is in the first week, I will focus on the 5 vital paths. The 5 vital paths are the 5 vital paths to health and wellness, which is actually the subject of volume 1, which is how far I've gotten. So you can pick up volume 1, it's got all the 5 vital paths and all the health and wellness, and it's got some previews for volume 2, FIeldcraft, craft and caution in the outdoors, and volume 3, which will be the philosophical or 13 guidings. In week 2, the videos will focus around FIeldcraft. Why is that drawing? It looks weird. FIeldcraft, craft and caution in the outdoors. These would be your outdoor nature channels and the camping and bushcrafting and the videos that people seem to really associate with Uncivilized Vitality. The third week, I will do something or one of the members will, on one of the 13 guidings. And then the fourth week, we're going to call that Miscellaneous. This is where you'll find things like last week's video about Punchy Ball, which we just had to share with the world. Our interviews, like when we do guest spots or we're on podcasts or other things, we'll share that. Book reviews, other kinds of tips that come up that maybe don't fit neatly in the other categories. The next thing, so that's going to be kind of our format for the months over 2026. So if you're really partial to the FIeldcraft and you're not really that interested in 13 guidings, you know, when that 13th week comes up, you don't necessarily have to make that a priority. We would appreciate if you watched all the videos, because the views and the comments really do help the algorithm. So you would like to turn on your notifications, so you get the video, which is going to come out, the main video, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. is we're going to upload the main video of the week. Now, if we upload another video, a miscellaneous topic, or a second or third video, sometimes large or small, that have to do with the topics, like we might release the main FIELDcraft video on Wednesdays, you'll know that's there without the notification. But if we put up a second or a third FIELDcraft related video that week, if you have the notifications on, then you can go and check that video out as well. But this is the format we're going to follow for 2026, and hopefully this will streamline some viewership and help us kind of boost our membership. Now, since this video will be coming out in the third week, let's do a small, I'll give you an example of what we're going to do. So let's talk about one of the 13 guidings. So we'll pick up these 13 guidings. They're sort of like aphorisms, which is just, those are short little sayings that contain generalized truths or guidings, which is why I call them guidings. And we have 13 of them. They're enumerated in the book, in the back of volume 1. You can find them on the website. And we have these little pocket cards that have the Latinized, or in Latin, 13 guidings on one side and the English equivalent on the back. And I'll explain why we use Latin in a moment. But leave a comment on this video, and then at the end of the first month it's playing, we'll have Rendell randomly select one or two top comments, and we'll mail you out one of those cards after we contact you. So you can get a little prize. We'll try to do some little giveaways this year as well. So let's talk about a couple of the different guidings. Okay. And then each week we'll put one in there, and you can use that to help hopefully improve your life in ways that you might not have gotten from some of the other aspects, right? You're getting healthier and happier, optimizing your health and happiness, getting outside with craft and caution, and getting more of that direct nature. Remember, living in harmony with nature is the best way. That's actually our first 13 guiding, Nature Knows Best. And then you can use these philosophical guidings to apply to your life in ways that hopefully will help and lead you to more eudaimonia, which is a life that is serene, joyful, and enthusiastic, which is kind of the ultimate output of uncivilized vitality. This one, primum non nocere, is Latin for first do no harm. Okay? And you'll say, that sounds familiar, that comes from the Hippocratic Oath. That's not necessarily a prehistoric saying, especially in Latin. And so let me clarify a little bit how we get these guidings. Through, we know a little bit about prehistory, because the earliest historic writings, remember, history begins when we started recording the daily events and writing them down. But since we were so close to the time we didn't write them down, or we just shared histories in myth and song and orally, we just passed those along, and then it finally got written down, we still know a lot about those times, a little bit, that we can extrapolate information from. Anthropologists do that all the time. We have extant hunter-gatherer and pastoral cultures in certain parts of the world still, where we can study them and extrapolate certain information. We have a relatively new field of evolutionary biology called evolutionary psychology, and admittedly it's a lot of conjecture, but been looking into it for years. And given all those different backgrounds, I came up with 13 philosophical guidings that can help you out, and this just happens to be, I think, number 9. So it fits in there because I like to think that prehistoric or pre-civilized hunter-gatherers in those small bands, those perfect Dunbar number societies, had something close to the idea of first doing no harm, like taking a pause before you took action. So at the very least, you could not make things worse, right? Always take that pause. You could, a couple examples, you're raising children and they have a little slip and a fall and a boo-boo. Anybody that's raised kids know that depending on how you react is going to lead to a self-sufficient child capable of emotional regulation and self-soothing, or a spoiled brat who's a nightmare by the time you hit the teenage years, right? Depends on how you react. So maybe you take a pause, and sometimes it's best to not do anything. Just let that kind of work itself out so they can learn to problem solve. Sometimes it's good to not be involved in, well, it's almost always good to not be involved in other people's affairs unless you're invited. Pre-civilized people were almost undoubtedly very individualistic. Egalitarian societies and such, I know sometimes people like to project the idea of socialism onto pre-civilized groups. But if you read the works there like Robin Dunbar and some other, the evolutionary psychologists and behaviorists, we know that that's probably logically just not going to be feasible. They did live in small communities and had to rely on each other, but individuals had the ultimate autonomy. They could join the group and benefit from that, or they were perfectly able to step outside the group and kind of go on their own. To be clear, humans don't do well on their own in nature. We're a hyper-social animal. We need each other, but we did tend to naturally respect the individual rights and autonomy of others, right? And we see this even today in some modern, some even civilized societies. Not very many places, but in the United States, we see this in our Constitution and Bill of Rights, where we say we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are inalienable rights, and those are directly pre-civilized. They come out. You don't have the right to kill anyone or take the life from anybody. That's your ultimate right, is to live. Can't have that taken from you. Liberty, you're free to make your own choices. You can't be imposed on. Obviously, this has had some ups and downs in history, but we've learned from it. We've moved on. And then the pursuit of happiness. You get to choose what makes you happy. Those are the first three rights, and they can't be taken away. So I know that pre-civilized people, even hunter-gatherer bands today, even though they don't phrase it like that, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, they will pause before they try to tell someone else what to do, right? The mistaken idea in some social sciences where they say, well, people that aren't civilized live by the law of the jungle, and sort of might makes right and this or that. And we know from general studies that's not accurate for human beings. That might be accurate for a pack of dogs, or a silverback gorilla and some primates on the mountainside, or like a school of fish. But amongst humans who are hyper-cooperative, hyper-social animals, it doesn't necessarily work like that. And in either way, they would always take a pause before they got involved and try to impose their will on someone else's life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness. Basically, human beings were, and again, this is conjecture, but probably if they weren't causing harm to someone else, they were just left alone, right? They also had to pull their weight. Right? You had to contribute. Like if your job is to help hunt and add to the meat for your family, and you're not doing it, then you can't expect to be fed at equal rations for someone who did pull their own weight, right? So individualism comes with freedoms, of course, but also comes with a lot of responsibility, which is probably why we see a tendency in civilization toward collectivism, because you promise people all of the privileges but none of the responsibility. You take away that fourth lost ability of accountability, and it gets to be pretty difficult. We didn't think about that before we started allowing people in our civilized societies to be more beneficiary than that someone that contributes, and that's become a problem. We didn't stop and make sure that this wasn't going to cause any kind of harm. All right, let's not get too political with this one. Let's pull it back a little bit. So one of our 13 guidings is first, do no harm. And for instance, in the third week of each month, I'll pull one of the other guidings. We'll discuss it. We'll talk about where it came from, the antecedents that led to that one being chosen for the 13, and how you can apply those to your daily life and how they work in with the rest of the uncivilized vitality. Another short example, this one, When we go up and do FIeldcraft, when we're outside, we're teaching people to be in the woods safely and ecologically responsibly. Sometimes you can get lost, and it's tempting to kick over into that survivalist mindset and think about that, when in reality, we're just going to train them to take a pause, take a deep breath. Let's say you're lost, and before you make things worse by running off or like, well, I kind of remember it's over here, or I don't need my compass yet, I'm going to do this. And pretty soon you're hopelessly butt lost deep in the forest and night's coming in. Sometimes, let's say you get turned around the woods, first do no harm. Don't make your situation worse. Before you panic, take a deep breath, sit down, retrace your steps, walk around, and calmly look through your options before you make things worse by panicking. So you can see how that would apply here. First, do no harm would apply to your health and wellness. And you start to develop those healthy living habits that we what's the word, sponsor, promote, try to get people healthier. Before you decide like, well, I probably don't have to do my calisthenics today, or I can skip my mobility or my floor sitting today, right? Before you do that, make sure that that's not going to snowball and cause you harm in the future, right? So first, do no harm. Don't make it worse, and then see if your actions can add in somehow to improve it, but you don't necessarily have to improve everything. This is another way I know that pre-civilized people had this idea in some form in their mind, especially indigenous Americans. People like to say, well, the Native Americans were backwards or savaged or weren't civilized from a European or Eurocentric point of view. For instance, in most nations, they didn't use the wheel. They didn't do a lot of agriculture, but that wasn't because of ignorance of the wheel and axle. The Native Americans, the archaeological record clearly shows that they were aware of that. They chose not to use that because they didn't necessarily need progress just for progress's sake. Okay? First, do no harm. Take a pause. Do we really need to progress in every little thing? I don't want to start going off on a rant about the over-reliance we have now in civilization, in civilized societies, on our technology, on our, I don't have my phone, I think it's, on our smartphones and our AI and all this different stuff, right? We should stop and think, is this stuff going to cause us any harm in the future? And if so, we should just leave it alone. We didn't do that, and now we're gonna be paying the price for it. All right, well, went off the rails again. I tried to keep this on task, but here's what I'll do, big picture. We'll have either myself or one of the other content providers focus on 5 vital paths in the first week, FIeldcraft related issues in the second week, 13 guidings or philosophical musings and rantings the third week, one of the miscellaneous topics in that fourth or fifth week, and then throughout the month you could get other, or I don't want to say bonus videos, but additional videos to the Wednesday at 9 a.m. anchor video. And if you have your notifications on, you will get access to all those videos and you won't miss any. So remember to support the charity. Head over to Amazon and pick up a book, and leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe to the video, and we'll choose a random winner next month in the 13th guiding third week video, and we'll contact you and get some of these little pocket philosophy cards mailed out. So that is it, and we'll see you next time.